Welcome. We'll start in a nice upright seated position. So feel that you're getting length in your chest or the sternum. If you lift in the chest, you'll find that you get some length in your abdomen, and that's what we want. So relax your shoulders down, close your eyes, and just start by paying attention to your body. Any sensations you might be experiencing in the body. And take your attention to your breathing pattern. Feel that the breath is effortless, in and out through your nose. As you keep your attention inwards, see if there's a way to feel your heart beating. Notice how it slows down the deeper you breathe. Maintaining this deeper breathing pattern. And today you're going to have the option. You can do ujjayi breathing, meaning the restriction in your throat, creating that ocean-like sound as you inhale and exhale. Or if you want to make sure that you don't force your breathing in any way, and you can simply keep it on this deep breathing pattern without restricting in your throat. From our seated position, let's just start with a nice spinal twist, getting the right hand onto the left knee, opposite hand behind the back. Nice deep in-breath and exhale. Draw navel to spine as you twist. Just feeling what the rotation is like. Inhale, come back to center and switch. It's a nice inhale to get length and exhale to twist. Just really being aware and paying attention. Maybe you find that twisting to the one side is a bit more difficult. Inhale, bring it back to center. Walk your hands out in front, but arch in the back, hinge in the hips, and use the exhalation to bring your chest closer to the floor. So you don't have to drop the head down. You simply keep weight on the sit bones, but you're working your chest a bit closer to the mat. As you do this, just be aware of what's happening in the body. Do you feel the hip flexors tightening up a bit? Do you maybe feel an intense stretch in your back? Inhale, lifting a little bit. Walk your hands over to the front of the mat or to one side, stretching in the side body. Just once again, if you stay really present on the mat, you'll find a way to deepen the stretch by not even moving too much. If you can get more out of this lateral bend, walk the hands back on an inhale, and exhale, walk it over to the opposite side. It's the side similar to the opposite side, or is it a bit more tight? Just focus on keeping the breath deep, because that is, after all, what makes this a yoga practice. And then walking the hands back on an inhale. As you come back up into an upright position, walk the hands behind the body, and as you walk the hands further away from your shoulders, start to lift in the chest, just so that you can stretch into the shoulders. So it's a nice way to open in the chest, and especially when you breathe here, you'll find that your breathing is a bit more effortless, simply because we've got so much space. We're opening in chest, there's length in the abdomen, the diaphragm can work nicely, and walking the hands back into a neutral position. Place hands onto the knees. It's as if you're going to hold onto the knees, because you're going to round the spine with an exhalation, and with an in-breath, you will lift the chest up, arching in the back. Exhale to round in the spine, and inhale to lift up. You don't have to move the head up and down all too much. You just move with your breathing, rounding in the spine, and arching in the back, pulling onto the legs as you arch. Keep moving, just a little bit of spinal work. We're going to do something Similar, but a bit more intense in a standing position. Bit of back bending and flexing in the spine. So a nice way to warm up. We just want to move the body on the mat today. Inhale, lifting in the chest, but with an exhale back into a neutral spine. Get hands onto the mat, tucking your toes. And you might want to use your hands for a bit of support to push up if you struggle to lift your knees without getting the hands on the mat. But see what you can do. The idea is to stretch into the ankles a bit. So I want to lean back, feeling a nice stretch in the ankles, then float the knees off the mat. And as I get the knees off the mat, work the heels to the floor, and we once again get that same sensation, stretching in the ankles. And as you're now stretching the ankles, you don't want to get the heels to touch the mat. You just want to stretch, play with the mobility that you've got here. You can bring the knees forwards once again. If it's a struggle, keep the hands on the mat and do the same thing. Maybe put some more weight on the hands, knees forwards, and then shifting back. But the main idea is simply to work into the mobility of the ankle joints. So shifting a bit of weight around, maybe not a bad idea to keep hands on the mat. We completely eliminating the balancing aspect, but if you feel playful or want to take it a step further, keep the hands off the floor. Just a bit of a stretch. You're going to once again get the heels close to the mat, reaching back. You can even rest the forearms on the knees, stretching it here. Hold. And then reaching with the hands forwards, place hands onto the mat. Step or jump the feet just a little bit more to the middle of the mat. And as you do so, you can part your feet. So get the feet about hip distance. Toes can be slightly out to the sides. Now the movement, keep it playful, even though it can get challenging to do these back extensions. But you want to round in the spine, then the heels will make contact with the floor. And you use the inhale to reach up and back. Exhale to come back down to where you started, so squatting down. Round in the spine, use the inhale, take it back up, back bend. Exhale down. So just move. You don't have to go for your deepest of back bends. We just want to warm up the body and especially the spine. The muscles around the spine. You move at your own pace. You'll find that the more repetitions you do, the deeper you'll go without trying. But once again, it's not about how deep you're going. Just another 2. The last one. Then as you squat down, see if you can get the heels all the way on the mat. If not, then keep them off the floor, obviously. Bringing hands to prayer in a malasana. In the next movement, you might want to use the hands to assist. You can place hands to the left side and then bring your right knee in. Just get the inner right knee to make contact with the floor. Bring it back up. Hands to the opposite side and bring it down. Now, if you can't get it to touch, that's also fine, but we're just moving on the mat from one side to the other. Here we're working into the hips a little bit. And it's all about turning these static postures into dynamic movements. Eventually, you're maybe going to find that you don't have to make use of the hands. And then you go with that option. But if you're not quite there, then it's not a big deal whatsoever. One more on each side. Then coming back to center, reaching with the hands out in front and stepping back into your first down dog. As you get into a down dog, start to walk it out. So feel into the lower legs, feel into the hamstrings, the ankle joints. Plank isn't really anyone's friend, but let's lower the hips into a plank pose just to feel that we're getting sufficient activation in the upper body. So you're pushing away from the floor, tucking tailbone slightly, keeping the head up. You don't want to collapse it down, but your gaze is still down to the floor, and then moving a little bit of weight around, back and forth. If it gets intense, then you just take your hips up into a down dog. But now let's shift weight back to a normal position, taking the hips up, downward facing dog. Playing with movement, so we shift a bit of weight onto the left hand, float the right hand off the mat. Maybe you want to keep the hand close to the mat, but just not to touch. And then bring the right hand down, shift a bit of weight over, lifting the left hand. So you're just playing with the idea of lifting, bring the left hand down, bend into knees, look up, inhale, feet in between hands, halfway lift, exhale, forward bend, bend into your knees if you have to, inhale, reverse swan dive, take arms up, exhale into mountain pose. As you get into a mountain pose, relax your shoulders back and down. Then place your hands onto your shoulders. This can act as a reminder to keep the shoulders down. You don't want to take it up. Now, thumbs at the back, the other four fingers in the front part of the shoulders, and just start to move from left to right. You can keep the breath deep and slow. You don't have to change your breathing pattern in any way, but just move the body from left to right. Just a little bit of spinal rotation. And coming back to a neutral position. Bring the arms down, lift your toes, spread your toes, grip the mat. Inhale, take arms up. Exhale, swan dive, get bent to the knees if you have to. Inhale, halfway lift. And with an exhale, plant the hands, take it back into plank. And from a plank, place your knees down, chest and chin down. Inhale into cobra, so we keep the knees on the floor. Exhale all the way down onto the floor. Inhale, push up into that same cobra. If it's quite intense, then maybe you're just going to come down a little bit and then push back up. We've got a few more to go. Moving on the mat, bending into the arms and pushing back up. Make sure that you keep your shoulders away from the ears. That's a very important part of this posture because we want to work into the spine, getting nice extension in the spine. And if you pull the shoulders up, you're avoiding the stretch. See if you can do two more. Lowering down, you might find that the body's warming up nicely from doing this. And then pushing up into that cobra pose, tuck your toes. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, raise your right leg. Bend the knee, pull the knee out to the right side. Now we're pulling heel to the glute and the knee is pointing out to the right. Just make big circles with the right leg. So you can do rotations, feeling into the right hip joint. It's still a down dog, the hips are still high. Change rotation, take it in the opposite direction. And you're just working into the hips. Movement is what it's all about with this lesson. Let's place right foot back onto the mat into a down dog. Place knees onto the floor. We're going to do the left side now, but once again sitting back onto the heels. Just not to stay upside down for too long. Option of being here, option of leaning back slightly. Stretching out toes, ankles. Time to get back to down dog. Reaching with the arms out in front, spread fingers, push away from the mat. Inhale, raise your left leg. Bend the knee as you take the knee out to the left side. So knee is pointing out. Now start with the big circles, rotations. You can move at your own pace. Change rotation. Keep your arms straight. Keep the circles as big as possible. And bring your left foot down. Bend knees, look up. Inhale, feet in between hands. Halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, hands to prayer, Samastiti. A little bit of a back bend. After back bend, a bit of a halfway lift. So inhale, lifting in the chest, look up. Feel the extension of the spine. Feel the stretch that you're getting in the abdomen. Exhale, hinge in the hips. Halfway lift. So you aim to get your upper body parallel to the floor with slight softness in the knee joints. But it's as if you're arching in your back to maintain good back activation. Now take a full in-breath. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands and exhale. Take it back. Place knees down. Chest and chin down. In-breath, cobra. Exhale, lower the body closer to the floor. Inhale, back up. A little bit of upper body strengthening. You inhale to push up. You exhale to lower down. Inhale up. Exhale down. In-breath up. Are you gripping the mat with both hands? Inhale up, but this time round on an exhale. Tuck toes, take it into a down dog. Inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, step right foot in between hands. Now as you bend into the front knee, come up with hands to pray. Bit of a unique little lunge movement that we'll be doing. The minute we start to straighten the front leg, we're going to bend into the back knee. So straighten the front leg, bend into the back knee, and then take it back. Straighten and bend. And back to normal lunge. Start to bend into the back leg, then straighten the back leg. Bending. And straighten. Bring your hands down, step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, foot between hands. Bending into front knee, hands to prayer. Normal lunge position. As you straighten the leg, bend the back knee. Straighten back leg, bend the front leg. Just keep moving. Nice way to play with your balance. Just moving a bit. Very controlled movements. Another one. Bending. Straighten, bring the hands down. Step back. Knees, chest and chin on exhalation. In breath. Cobra pose. Exhale, down dog. And we're going to build on that previous lunge position. So inhale, take right leg up. Exhale, foot between hands. Place back knee onto the mat. Hands to pray. Now as we straighten, we're going to do the same movement, bending into the back knee and bending into the front knee, knee back down. Straighten and bend. Bring the knee down. Once again, third one. And down. Fourth. And then one more. Bending. And then back. In this low lunge position, get the top of the back foot to rest on the floor. Left elbow over your right knee. Hands to pray and twist. Gaze down to the floor. Release hands down, tuck toes, lock back leg. Step back plank. Lower down knees, chest and chin. In breath, cobra pose. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, step left foot in between hands. Back knee down, hands to pray. Start to straighten as you lift the back knee and bring it back down. Coming up and down. Controlled movements. And back. And down. Two more. Up. And down. Last one. Up. And bring it down. Top of the back foot onto the floor. Right elbow over left knee, hands to pray. Twist. Keep sinking the hips down. We've got the front leg at a 90-degree angle. Turn your gaze down to the mat. Release hands down, tuck toes, lock back leg. Step it back. We're going to take the hands out in front and walk the feet back to a nice long plank stance. Now we're once again going to turn this static hold into movement by bending into the knees and straightening. Bend. Straighten. Keep moving. If it's quite intense, then simply lift the hips. Two more. Last one. Straighten. Normal plank pose. Taking your hips up into a down dog. More movement in our lunge. So on inhale, take right leg up. Exhale, step foot between hands. Bring hands onto waist as you come up with the chest. So now we're going to keep the front leg bent at 90. Bend into the back knee. and straighten your back leg. Bend and straighten. A third one. Straighten. 4. Straighten. Last one. Bend and straighten. Bring hands down. Step back. Knees, chest and chin. In our cobra pose, feel a nice extension in the spine. Exhale to down dog. Inhale, take left leg up. Exhale, placing foot between hands, both hands onto your waist. Bending into the back knee and straighten. Bend. Straighten. A third one, bend. Straighten. 4th. Straighten. Last one, bending. Straighten the back leg. Bring your hands down. Stepping back. Placing knees down. You can straighten the left leg. Bend the right. Take a nice, deep inhalation, arms up to ceiling. On exhale, reaching forward, see if you can find the foot or the ankle into a forward bend. Inhale, lifting in the chest, and exhale, let go of the foot. Switch legs, straighten the right, bend the left. Nice deep inhale, foot is in line with the hips, or the right hip. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, lifting in chest, and exhale, letting go. Bring soles of the feet together. Final bit of movement before we get to a nice breathing exercise. So we've got the feet together. You can leave space between heels and the groin. Just interlace fingers around the feet and move the knees up and down. Just a bit of movement in the legs. And then you can stop with the movement and get yourself into a comfortable seated position. You'll be spending time in an upright position, doing a breathing technique that I don't want you to force, just like you didn't want to force your breathing throughout the class. Same thing counts with the pranayama we'll be doing now. So eventually what we want is to do a full deep inhale on counts of 4, hold the breath for 7 counts, exhale on 8 counts. If that's a little bit difficult, then you can do count of 4 with the inhale, hold for 4, and exhale for 6. So see what is possible for your lungs at the moment, but don't force it too much. I will guide you with the first 2 cycles, and then you're going to count in your head. That's also a nice way to distract the mind, to simply count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But be fully present with the breathing exercise. Notice what you feel like right now after a bit of yoga, and then notice what you feel like after the breathing exercise, and just realize how powerful the breath is when we really control our breathing and how we tap into our very own physiology. So sitting in a nice upright position, it's always good to just open in the chest and to get length in the abdomen so the diaphragm can move. You can close your eyes. Full deep inhalation on the count of 4. I'll count for you in my head. Hold. Exhale. Deep inhale. Hold. Exhale. And continue. One more cycle. After the full exhalation, allow the breath to return back to a natural state. And just before we get comfortable in a corpse pose, staying in this upright seated position, just notice how calm the mind and the body is. Just enjoy this more relaxed state that you are in. And then whenever you are ready, you can go back and relax onto the mat into a corpse pose. You can stay in your corpse pose for as long as you like.